one.
All right, people, we're live. We're going to spare you the normal introduction to our podcast, our live podcast, and just get right into it because there's a lot to go over right here. As you know, the Nexus Cartoon Show, the thing I've been working on for 5 billion years, I've kind of rethought my approach to how to get this thing done. And it's a very simple solution. I decided rather than wait for people to come to me, I would go, no, I was waiting for people to come to me. Yes, number one, and they didn't. So now I'm putting out want ads. The want ads are going to be very simple, explaining what I need from, thankfully, a single person. We don't need to get 10 or 20 people involved in the beginning here. It's just one person. And that one person has to be extremely good at what he does. He's got to know all the latest software, and he's got to know inside and out the animation production model, which I'm well familiar with, but this is the guy that knows the nuts and bolts a little better than I do. So he's going to be invaluable, he or she, and right now it's just a waiting game. If I can get in contact with somebody who gets in contact with me. One of the cool things about what I'm going to show you today is when I screw up on my pages, the first thing I do to find out if I screwed up is to have a bunch of thumbnails printed out of what I've done so far. So this literally goes from page 1 to the entire pages that I've done so far, and it starts with we have 4 pages on a page, so I can see them clearly what's going on, and I can read the sense of continuity that is all important. And if there's any flaws in this thing, I'll find it here, and of course I did. And what I ended up doing was taking pages like this one right here. We got this on the camera pretty good here. Okay, so this is one of them right here. Can we see that? Okay, and that page got turned into, let's see if we can find it here. That page got turned into, this panel got changed to that. So it's much more clear, and it also corresponds with the panel down here, which is the same kind of couch. So I took this panel right here, and I didn't really know what I was thinking, but I caught it. So what I ended up doing was putting Sunderpeel in there, and she's kind of lounging around. That's how she takes her break. Is just lounging like that. I may have to redraw that to make it look more fitting to the couch, but you know, all in a day's work, right? Little things like I had this a lot bigger. I had to shrink it, so I redrew it. This was page 1, and that was all wrong, so I made some changes down here. So now the continuity is working very well. This panel here had a bunch of stuff going on here with people sitting. Well, they wouldn't be sitting in this area right here. They would be all walking. And it works well with the guy who's the boss, the chief of police, who's yelling at them and saying what's going on here. Oh, little things here. There was a girl in this panel right here that I didn't like her posing, and hopefully we can show you the actual before and after page before we show you the after page here. So this one was replaced. It works a lot better now. Again, you catch these things when you need to catch them. Let's see if there's anything else that we have here. Nope, I'm just that good. There's very few things that I had to change here, except for this page right here. This is the last one I'm going to show you. The whole storytelling sequence goes from here to here. This was all wrong. This was way too crowded and too detailed. I wanted to basically make a silhouette because you can read those extremely fast. So I added that one in. I shrunk this head right here, and we're sitting pretty here. So that's what I go through when there's changes to be made, which I have no problem doing at all because you're there to sacrifice anything that doesn't work. This is the page I'm currently working on. I'm having fun with this right here. Recently, I was on a podcast with a guy named James for a podcast called Nerdy Musings. I hate that word, nerd. We should just banish that forever. More like intellectuals. I like that word better. That happen to read illustrated fiction. There you go. So, but anyway, I was talking to him yesterday on this podcast about troubles that artists / writers encounter when they're doing their work. The Nexus stories that I'm working on, as the sole creator of these stories and writing them, is these are 100 pages long. And that's a lot of pages to keep track of. And in the past, I've kind of, successfully pulled it off. But the process had to get more streamlined. And I'm finally starting to do that with Janelle's help, who bears the brunt of 5 times the work that I do. I'll make it 12. And so trying to organize all this material right here. And even though I've already thumbnailed it out and written the story and everything's down, I still am finding myself wanting to shift things around a little bit. And that just comes as a byproduct of looking over what you've done and finding ways to change, improve, modify, whatever, So that's what I was showing you on these pages right here. And this is the way I'm trying to work nowadays. I'm going to pencil it in, not tight, because I don't like to do tight anymore. But I do have to nail this down first. And so this is the start of page 34. And I'm going to pencil this all out as detailed as I need to before I know I can comfortably and assuredly go in with the inking process. So pencils first, inks later. And that's going to keep me out of trouble, I hope. We got some letters right here, okay? This is going on about the amount of work it takes. How did I word this right here? It was somebody said there's a saying in art, you need to go through 1,000 bad drawings to be good. Well, I came down in it pretty hard and said that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard, because it sounds like a death sentence. You've got to look forward to, no matter what you do, 1,000 bad drawings. Well, what if by drawing 5 you're getting better? Do you count those as bad drawings? No, it's ridiculous. So this guy wrote in and said, as it pertains to comics, Ted Miller wrote in and said, I heard it was 500 pages of comic art. And he mentions that I was a little farther along than that by issue 2 of Nexus, which is nice to hear. It's a very dramatic improvement, he says. But he also makes the comment that based on simple observation of him here, the writer, 500 pages, after 500 pages, some artists are as good as they will ever be. Some are good less than that, and some are good far later than 500 pages. I don't know what 500 pages is. I never counted them. But in the field, in the 80s, the standard page count was about 22 pages of story, which I would draw with Nexus and Mike Barron would write. And what else did he say here? Some artists come into the field kicking butt. Others only do so after years of hard work. And many, as he writes here, merely settle on being competent, as if they decided that they're as good as they need to be and stop trying for more. I personally don't understand that. That's not my mentality. To me, this is always a search for, at the very least, maintaining your standards, assuming that you reached your peak, which I think I did in a lot of ways. But this guy writes, but that's an illusion. None of them will be doing sequential art if they weren't already really good. And now the bar is even higher for comic book artists than it's ever been. The rest is a matter of preference. When he says the bar is no higher for comic book artists, um, I don't really see that as something that has come about in the field. I know that artists have gotten photorealistic in a lot of ways, and that in itself does not make a good comic book. Kirby was never photorealistic, but he had incredibly um, solid drawing ability with everything he did. But he extended the storytelling aspect with figures that was not seen by anyone before or since. Even now, with all the examples he's put out, the last 5 billion pages that Kirby turned out, still people just don't are able to pick up on what he did. So go figure, right? So I like to hear from people that would tell me why they think the bar is higher for comic artists, because right now the rates are so low. I don't know who is going to be attracted by that, unless you're living in poverty and living in a foreign country somewhere in the lower part of Africa. But yeah, explain that to me, because I don't really get that at all. One guy writes in, kind of answers the question here, says, I see so many artists these days that are basically photocopy, and it seems impressive at first, but the overall it's empty. And you can just make a few really good photocopies and sell yourself as a great talent to the uninitiated. This guy writes in with a comment here. It's much easier to specialize in copying details than anything else. I kind of know what that means. I kind of don't. This is in response to the Barry Smith thing that I did last week. I was showing a lot of Barry's work that I just adore. I just love looking at all these details and the incredible amount of thought that goes into his work. This guy writes in, if you can see this little picture right here, this was a commission done many years ago. And this is something I did for him in a Barry Smith style. And he just is thanking me for what he did. Stunning work and tribute from one master to another, right? So, what do we? Oh, this is. I think this is referring to Barry Smith's Storyteller 9 issues that was published by Dark Horse before it went under due to lack of sales. And a while back, he was told that Barry Smith had 3 different stories going on into the art in each issue. That was Storyteller. 3 different stories going on at the same time. And Too Good to Last, I think it was canceled after something like 8 issues, 9. And this guy actually sent Barry an email bemoaning the fact that it was canceled. And Barry wrote him back and thanked me for liking the book. He told me he was going to go shop Storyteller around to other publishers, but unfortunately, we never saw anything but the Dark Horse issues 1 through 9. But this guy says, yeah, they were masterpieces, and I always appreciated the personal response from Barry. There's something else that I think very few even know about right here, but when Malibu Comics came out, this was the comic that Barry was doing for them, called Rune, a very violent comic. And in the back, the Malibu people asked me to contribute a pinup. And I don't know if it was referring to a cover or a back cover or whatever, but somewhere in the back of this book right here, I happened to open up, and this is what I did for this back pinup art for Rune. And I colored it like I thought Barry would do it, and I inked it like Barry would do it, and I kind of really put a lot into it to make it look like, to see if I could actually fool somebody into thinking it was Barry, because I like to be a mimic. It's fun for me. So I don't know if you can see this very clearly. Is that close up right there? Well, very good. Okay, so is it over there? Okay, camera number 20 says we got a good close up going on here. So that's the way that looked. That was the cover of Rune number 4. And incredibly cool work. Barry's sense of color is like nothing I've ever seen before. It is really spectacular. And I don't know what's going on currently with Barry, but I know that he's slowing down with his output, now being in his 70s. But who knows? You never know how somebody is going to react to the aging process, because really all it is a matter of if you still have your physical and mental abilities, and if you have the desire to keep pushing, then that's a good thing. Oh, what do we have for the rest of this stuff here? Let's go over to the animation desk before that sparkling drop of swap of essence. Got some show you at the animation desk. Go follow me over here, and we're going to pick it up over here. So what we're going to show here is some of the animation that I've been doing. A lot of these ideas I just get from you know, living a life and looking around, and so this is something where Nexus does a chop, and I think chop something in half or whatever. I haven't figured out what that is yet, but that can come later on. So that's drawing number 1, and the final drawing is drawing number 6 here, for 1 through 6. So obviously in animation you have to make things in between it like a film strip, and so you go from this to the middle drawing and this, so it works like that. And then you've got your drawings in between that. Everything isn't in between in animation. It's just like a film strip that rolls in front of your eyes here. It's always the, you know, one frame after another, and they all have to work together to make the movement work. So can you see what's going on there? I'll try to slow it down a little bit. Most people do this way too fast. So you can see he's coming in. And one of the things about these arm movements is that they stay back for a long time. They don't, some people would have it halfway over there, like this one is, but no, the arm actually drags behind the body to build up momentum. And there's this incredible snap that makes this thing dynamic right here. I thought about this weird idea where Nexus has a flaming spear in his hand, because you've always got to have these gimmicks where he just doesn't blast his ray blast all the time. You got to think of something a little better than that. So my idea was to have him like this without the spear. He opens up his hand and he fists it, and he's got the flaming spear in there. And then from there, I backed off and did a long shot of the following things, which go from here to there. So there's the extremes. You do those first in most cases. Is there a middle drawing here? It's actually number 5. So we go from 1 to 5 to foof. So 1, 2, 3. And that's another case of the arm dragging behind right there. That's the way, if you ever looked at a professional baseball pitcher, his arm is bent in the goofiest position you could ever imagine. You know, unless you shot it in film and still frame, that you would never know that the arm works like that. But it's literally bent all to hell, and it in a way that seems unlikely unless you wanted to break your arm. So if I were to fill in the in-betweens, I would go from there. It's going back a little bit. He's got to go back before he goes forward. So starting from there, he's going forward very slowly. And I've kind of learned to figure out how far the figure has to move to make it move right, shot in 2s. So there, a little more forward, a little more forward. And then we get to this penultimate drawing here. So we go from there to bam, just like that, okay? So there's going to be a lot of snap in there. And this is, he's slowing into the movement right here. So he goes from that, but you don't just stop when you're in motion. You slow into the finality of the throw here. So there's that. Let's move that aside. Let's get some females in here. Okay, there's Sandra Peel. And I'm going to peg this right here. This is all in cool 12 field paper. This is how it started out right here. I just had this weird idea where she's in this certain kind of posture. I see these kind of in my head. And when I see them, I want to quickly get over and draw them. By the way, everyone needs one of these right here, so go grab one of those. but her hand, I want her hand to move up, okay, like this. So it starts from here and it goes up to here. Well, I have to draw all those hands in there to make them move right. So time to make them move right. I think we started from, oh, there's a reverse view right there because we're going to switch camera angles when this is in the actual show right here. But so she starts from there, and then she goes from here, arm 2, arm 1, arm 2, and then it slowly goes up, and she's going to bring it up into that pointing position here, okay? So up a little bit at a time, up a little bit at a time. She's going to rotate her wrist, so she's going to be in position to be doing that, okay? So she moves it up a little more at a time, and then finally we get to the final drawing, and we're just going to stop. I'm not going to put slow in drawings for that. I think it'll work just fine with that. So there's a drawing that started it all, and when you do a close-up, you've got to do mouth movements here, okay? So here are all the mouth movements that go with this face right here. So there's that, ah, teeth clenched. So you can see they all work in unison with this face right here. So the only thing that's moving is either her eyes blinking or her mouth moving. So these are all her mouth movements here, okay? And this is where a lot of people really screw up if they don't pay attention to this stuff right here. You've really got to be, if you don't do the mouth movements right, she's going to look not right. She's going to look pretty terrible. So you've really got to pay attention to this kind of stuff right here. I think I'm going to modify that jaw a little bit. It looks a little long. And this is just nothing more than a jaw dropping, because it works like this right here. You see that? That's how it works as a hinge joint. And it can rotate a little bit there. So that's all tied into this face right here. And this face could have a lot of mouth charts too, but I never got around to it. Standing next to her on this side is Nexus. So he's going to be positioned there, and they're going to be talking to somebody off screen. This is the long shot right here, and this is the close-up, which I redo to make it a little more accurate than I could with a smaller drawing. Animation is just pure fun for me. It's people think it's a lot of work, and it is, but you know, everything that's good in life is a lot of work. So I redrew the close-up there, and I wanted his head to go from here to there. So there to there. This is a very specific thing that you have to be very careful about drawing right here, because this is normally where people fail. They put an in-between drawing in there, and they don't know how the head rotates in a 3D sense. So they make this bad. I can't do that with my show, obviously, so that's why I'm doing all the drawings myself. So with a total of 5 drawings here, we're gonna rotate this. We're gonna roll it. So it goes from there to there to there to there. There, and then stop. And if I want to make mouth movements, I can put those on an overlay later on. Let's move this aside right here. By God, I've been so busy here with this cool stuff, so productive. This is another scene right here where I started off with this one right here. It was kind of based on a Space Ghost pose that I saw from that show, but modified a little bit. So what I ended up doing here was going from here to there. So he's holding out these ray blasts, which I've already drawn in on a separate level right here. And he goes from here to there. And he's winding up for the pitch. And the pitch is this drawing right here. We're going to take just the arms and move it in onto this pose right here, okay? So it's registered exactly, but it's that's all that moves. That's all it has to move, and you don't have to redraw anything else. So it goes from here to there to bam. Here, there, bam, okay? And as far as getting to here goes, same process. 1, 2, 3. This is as many as I can roll at a time here. So there, blue pencil, the middle drawing right there. He's backing it up, and he finally gets there. And then forward and shoots his ray blast. So let's move back to the main, the main area right here. And that really is going to wrap it up for today. It's going to be a brief show. We're also very lucky to have a lot of people responding to the ad that we put out as far as getting new blood into the Rude Dude production office here. And so we've got a lot of people that are writing in, and we've already confirmed at least 5 people that are going to be helping out with these kind of things right here, the videos, the live streams, and doing a little bit of editing, which always helps to make it coherent and fast for people that have 0 attention span like me. So that's going to be it for right now. Is there anything else you want to mention, Mr. Producer here?
We do have a few comments.
We have a few comments that just came in, correct? Okay, well.
Yeah. Someone said Kirby is king because he evolved over his 60-year career, adapted to each era, and never dropped off in quality, not to mention his insane, almost inhuman output.
Yeah, Kirby's output was second to none, and I think I talked about this last time by mentioning that a guy like Kirby comes along every 200, 300 years. So.
Yeah, and they said only ever dropped in quality when Coletta inked him.
Yeah, there's the Inker thing coming up here. In Inker, in case is there anybody out there that doesn't know, which I didn't know for the longest time. I thought the Inker was somebody who put colored ink over the pages for reproduction. But an Inker is someone that goes over the pencil work, actually goes over it with any ink, like you see me doing here. These all started in pencil, like this stuff right here, and then you go over it with ink, and it turns out to be reproducible, much more reproducible. I've been doing my own inking for the last 10 years, knowing that there's no need for an inker to come in, because an inker was thought up for deadline reasons, to get the work turned out. Because if you're looking at a book that comes out once a month, and there's 24 pages in there, that's a lot of work to turn out. And a guy like Kirby can turn it out faster than probably anyone that ever lived. So there's guys that just have that very fast mentality, and they're the envy of everybody that's slow. And I've always kind of been a medium rate penciler. And just by working hard, working after hours, you can get about a page and a half to 2 pages a day. And that was about as fast as I ever got in maintaining my quality. So if that's the only comments I had to respond to, we're just going to wrap it up for right now.
No, you have a couple more comments.
We have a couple more comments.
Yeah, about your animation.
Yeah.
Somebody said, I think TV animation started out at 12 frames per second before dropping even lower. Filmation retained 12-second FPS along with a couple other better quality studios. The mid-90s had a renaissance. AI might be a valid tool to help bring Nexus animated stories to fruition, just need some in-betweeners and Storybeat collaborators.
Yeah, he's mentioning that on poorly produced animation, which I'm not going to mention studio names like Filmation, but they did the crappiest job I've ever seen in my life. They bragged because they kept the work here instead of farming it out, but what's the point if you're going to do work that terrible looking? Their work was stiff, uninspired, the layouts were poor, everything about it was bad. But like, I don't want to get into that. But I already did. So Japanese stuff is actually shot in 4s, which looks ridiculous. But there's a lot of Japanese fans out there, and I don't want to offend them. And if I do, sorry, too bad. The other thing he mentioned was the current software that you can use to make the work done a lot faster, like doing in-betweens and stuff. That's something that I have to look into when I find the right-hand person that's going to come in and help me out with first filming all the animation that I've done, about a 5-foot stack of animation that we need to test screen to see if it works right, and then solidify it, make it work right, and then we're going to go right into hopefully production on the pilot, which is an hour-long show. The script is already written. I've boarded a lot of it, storyboarded it, and I just need the right people to come in. So we're just keeping our fingers crossed that very unique and specialized creative person to work alongside of me to start doing this. But the main change that I was talking about at the beginning here was this really can't be done any other way than myself leading the charge and having a select group of people working under me that do all the main things that have to be done. And that includes backgrounds, music, sound effects, storyboards, voice acting, all that kind of stuff. We need all that to make this show work. And I think with enough sedation and enough vitamins and massages during the 3 o'clock period of every day, I think I might get through the day. So thanks for your comments. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for your support with what I'm doing with the Nexus Cartoon Show. Hopefully we can get it made someday. Once I look to you for a couple of $1 billion. So once that's underway, we'll get underway. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next